NAT, right? So today's session is NAT. NAT stands for Network Address Translation. Network Address Translation. Okay, what is the NAT? NAT full form is the Network Address Translation. Write down definition. Network Address Translation used to translate public IP to private IP. Network address translation used to translate public IP address into private IP address and private IP address into public IP address. Used to translate public IP to private IP and private IP to public IP. Used to translate public IP to private IP address and private IP address to public IP address. Done? Okay. So NAT. Done? Okay, what is the scenario? That means scenario means why we have required NAT service and which type of scenario we have required to configure the NAT. So first we need to understand about the scenario. Okay, so first okay, I have a ISP done and ISP, right? Now this ISP connect with your network and there is a modem done. router. So there is a public address, it will be done. And next, here is PC, and also there is PC, also there is PC. Okay, so there is private IP addresses. So private address, and private address will be 192.168.1.1. Done. Okay, no issue. We will change here. Private address we 10.0.0.1, right? So this is private address, and this is the ISP, internet service provider. So ISP providing me a public IP address, right? When I purchase a internet connection from the ISP, then ISP provide me a connection, and with this connection it provide a public IP address, right? So public IP address used to connect my LAN with the public network, right? Then we should configure a private IP address in our modem. Okay, so this private IP address working as a modem IP address. Okay, now suppose that we want to use internet on every each PC. That means WAN services on every each PC. Every each PC means LAN PC. So we have only single public IP address. So through the single public IP address, how I can use the internet on multiple computers? So there is problem, but through the NAT service, it is possible. And how it is possible? How it is possible and how it works? Main thing. Okay, in this computer we have a IP address, just like we have a 10.0.0.2. okay, when 10.0.0.2 click for internet, suppose that it try to open google.com. okay, then what happened? Your request going to this router. Okay, then there is NAT service. So NAT service convert resolve this private address request into the public address request, right? Then this public IP address take your responsibility and drop your request to the on the ISP. Okay, and you have your question is you have write down google.com, then ISP again responds on the public IP address. Clear? Then the NAT service again resolve your public IP address to the private IP address. Done. And then your request perfectly transfer to the your connected PC, right? If you are properly connected with the ISP, then google.com will open on your screen. Clear? So how to NAT service works in your environment. So this is the process. First your request goes to the NAT router through the private IP address. Then this private IP address, your NAT service will resolve this private IP address request with the public IP address, right? Then your public IP address take your request and transfer this request to the ISP. Okay, then ISP responds your request on the same public IP address. Then again NAT service resolve your IP address, your public IP address to the private IP address. Then your system get be the response and Google will be open. So this is the process of the NAT, network address translation. So NAT is the most important part in your environment to convert public IP address into the private and private into the public. Okay, suppose that you don't using NAT service, so then what happen? If you want to run your internet connection on 200 computer, then you should purchase 200 internet connection and you should pay for this, right? But through the NAT service we can purchase limited internet connection, and through these limited internet connection we can apply this, you can use this internet on multiple computers, right? So this is the process. Clear? So two type of NAT. First is static, second is dynamic. Dynamic, static and dynamic. And third one also PET. PET. PET is the part of dynamic. PET is the part of dynamic NAT. PET stands for port address translation. PET stands for port, PORT, port address translation. That means full form of the PET is port address translation. So it is the part of dynamic NAT. So NAT, there is two type of NAT, static and dynamic. And third one is PET, but PET is the part of dynamic, right? So what is the static NAT? Static NAT, that means through the static NAT we can access internet connection on a single computer. I have a ISP, single internet connection, right? And through the static NAT we can translate only single IP address with the public IP address. So there is no benefit. Why we are using the NAT? If we are using the single IP address for internet connection, for we can access internet on single IP address. So there is no benefit of the NAT service. Okay. So static is not utilized in the companies. In the dynamic NAT, we can create a pool of IP address. Pool of IP address, that means list of IP addresses. Suppose that we want to use internet connection on 20 computers. So we need to create a pool of 20 IP addresses in the NAT and allow this pool for the internet access, for the translation. Okay, then 20 IP address can translate, 20 private IP address can translate with the public IP address. Clear? So in the dynamic NAT, we can access internet on multiple computers, but in the static NAT, there is different. We can access a internet connection only with the only single computer. Clear? So dynamic is the beneficial for the company. Okay. So how we will be configure static and dynamic? Chris? Practical is configure first static NAT, so this one is the ISP router. And this one is the NAT. Okay. Now configure IP address for this. There is a public IP address 11.0.0.1 and there is also a private IP address, also a public IP address. There is 11.0.0.2 and now in this there is private IP address. So private is 10.0.0.1. Okay. Now configure IP address on the system. So in the system 10.0.0.2 now 3, sorry 4, 5, sorry we have done 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8. Okay, we have done. Now configure IP addresses on the router, and enable config int space fa0/0 IP space address 1.255.0.0.0 no set int space s2/0 IP space address space 11.0.0.1 clock rate no set router RIP network and 11 also, right? So we have completed first router job. Then on the second router, same as well as the first router, right? So how we will be configure second router? Same, enable config t int space s2/0 IP space address space, yes, it's serial, and IP space address. So what IP address we have configure here? 11.0.0.2 space 255.0.0.0 no set. Then router space RIP enter network and 10.0.0, sorry not the 10, 11.0.0.0 enter. Okay, so we have done. You can write down, check here. What is the first router job? FA0/0 fast Ethernet IP address no set, done. Then second is serial 2/0 IP address clock rate no set. Done. Clock rate no set. Then again router space RIP Done. On the second router, see here, int space 2/0, router space rip. We need to only configure single IP address here. Done. Router rip, then network, and network is 11.0.0.0. network space 11.0.0.0. Now check connection. Successful, right? Now check the translation it going or not. So IP net translation. Okay, on the net router, check the command, check the net translation through this command. So in the second mode, so space IP space net space translation. So this command used to check network translation, net translation. Okay, when we run this command, so there is no any response. Done, there is blank. Okay, so configure the net. So first we configure static net. So how we will be configure static net? IP space, config IP space net space. Now configure inside space source space static. Now it asks for the inside local. So what is inside local? That means you need to configure the IP address which type of IP address we need to configure here? 10.private IP address 255.0.0.0. okay, so only this private IP address can be translate. Clear? So static, in the static net only single IP address can be translated. So we have configured 10.0.0.2 IP address can translate private to public. Okay, then enter. So write down this command. This is static net command. Okay, stop. Inside, okay, not write down. Inside global IP address 10.0, sorry, 11. That was wrong. This command was wrong. Correct is we need to configure public IP address here 10.0.0 to 1. Then enter. Then enter. Then int space fa 0/0 IP space net space in the on the Ethernet port we need to configure inside, and then fa 0/2 we have done s2/0 on the serial interface IP space net space outside. Okay, so on the Ethernet int space fa 0/0 you have completed your command. IP net inside source static. This one is no, this is perfect command. This one is done. Interface fa 0/0 IP net inside, IP net inside, interface s2/0 IP net outside. Done. Okay, now check transfer packets from this to this. Success. Then check the translation is working or not. Okay, translation working. So check through this command, show IPNet translation. Now your 10.0.02 IP address transfer their request to the ISP router. But only single IP address can translate. Only 10.0.0.2 IP address can be translate their IP address with the global IP address, with the ISP IP address, public IP address. Okay, you see a result. When you transfer your packets from this PC to this PC, then your address will be translated because we have allowed this address, right? It is 10.0.0.2 and we have allowed this address, it can be translated. So see the net configuration. Okay, 10.0.0.2 can be allowed with this public IP address. Okay, now check other PCs, other IP address. Transfer packets, it shows the successful. Then again transfer packets, it shows also successful. But when we transfer packets from this PC to this router, to the ISP router, in this situation the IP address of this laptop is 10.0.0.3. okay, and it's sending some packets to the ISP router, successful. See here, it is translated or not. Now check again. So there is no any translation of the 10.0.0.3 IP address. Okay, only 10.0.0.2 IP address can be translated. So check again another IP address. Check again, successful. But check the when I check the translation, so there is no any entry of other IP addresses. Okay, only 10.0.0.2 can be translated. So this is the static net. Concept clear? How we will be configure the static net? Okay. Now next step, configure dynamic net. Okay, how we will be remove this network configuration, this net configuration config key. Same, first write down the same command and no. When we configure this type of command, then this command used to remove the net configuration from the router. Used to remove, not the add, not the configure, used to remove. Done. Now how we will be configure dynamic net? How to configure dynamic net? Okay, so done. First create a access list. Okay, so access list 10 permit 10.0.0.2. so we have permitted this IP address through the access list. 10.0 permit 3 and add multiple addresses 4. Okay, so we have done 3 IP addresses, 5 also, 5 2 3 4 5. So 4 IP addresses we have allowed through the access list, we have permitted through the access list, and deny another, deny any. So these 4 IP addresses we have allowed to for the translation for single time. Done. Deny any. Now next command, IP space net space pool, IP space net space pool. Define pool name CMS and start the range, IP address range 2, and configure end range, so 5. So from 2 to 5 there is 4 IP addresses, 2 3 4 5. So there is 4 IP addresses can be allowed through the net. Then net mask and type the subnet mask of these addresses. Okay, so this is the command, IP space net space pools, then pool name, then start IP addresses, then end IP address range. So there is 4 IP addresses can be translated in a single time, 10.0.02 to 10.0.0.5. Then type the net mask and then subnet mask of the network. Done. This is the final command. This is the last command. You have write down this command, not the other. Done. Okay, now IP space net space inside space source space list is 10 and pool name is CMS. Okay, so through this command we will be match our access list with the net pool. CMS, right? So our access list is the 10 we have already configured on the previous commands, and our pool name is the CMS we have done with the NAT command. Through this command we have created CMS pool name. So we will be connect our access list with the pool, NAT pool, right? So this one is the dynamic NAT from this command. If we have write down here overwrite, then it will be the pet. Okay, if we don't write down here overload, then we will be start this command, then it will be the dynamic. Okay, when we write down here overload, okay, before the overload we have done enter, we have press enter here, so it will be the dynamic NAT. Okay, when we write down in the dynamic NAT only we can configure the pool of IP addresses, but in a single time only a single IP address can be translated, so there is no any benefit. But in the pet we can translate multiple IP addresses in a single time, so pet is the important for the company, so every company use the pet. So write down overload, so we need to configure pet overload, then enter. Done. So this is the final command, IPNet inside source list 10 pool name and the overload. Done. Okay, then apply this NAT configuration on the interfaces. int space fa0/0 IP space NAT space inside, then int space s2/0 IP space address, sorry, not the IP address, IP space NAT space outside. Now 4 IP addresses can be translated in a single time, 2 3 4 5. Done. Okay, now check verification completed. Interface fa0/0 IP space NAT space inside, then interface s2/0 IP space NAT space outside. Okay, now check 2 3 4 5, only these addresses can be translated in a single time. So try transfer packets from this to this, again this one is, and again this, and again this, then check. Okay, see here there is translate 10.0.0 2 3 4 and 5, sorry 5 this one is and 4 this one is. Okay, so these 4 IP addresses can be translated in a single time, we can check from the list. But when we transfer packets from other router, other PC, other IP addresses, just like 10.0.0.6, okay, we have transferred this, so this is the out of list. When we check 10.0.0.6 can't be translated, so there is no 10.0.0.6. okay, only 4 IP address can be translated in a single time. Okay, so this is the pet configuration. Done. Got it. Now end the session.